Hi guys! Today we're going to see matching headings. The way to identify that this is a matching heading question type is always because I have a box and it says headings in it. Headings just means like a title that you would include at the top of the section or at the top of the paragraph. And it's basically a summary of the main idea, the main point of that text. Something that we need to take into account before beginning with the techniques of this matching headings type is that we always have more headings than paragraphs. So in this case, we have 8 different headings. It could be also 9 or 10. And in this case, we have 7 different paragraphs. It means that we always have some extra headings that we don't need. So what we have to do at the beginning is forget about the headings, don't even look at them, and focus on the text. We're going to take between 3 to 5 minutes to skim read each paragraph one by one until the end. And some of my students would tell me, well, and what's the meaning of skimming? How could I skim? What would it look like? So, skimming is basically to read quickly, finding the topic sentences in each paragraph. So basically, the topic sentence summarizes the main point, the main idea of that paragraph. In English, it is usually found at the beginning and at the end of the paragraphs. So, what I usually recommend is that you read 2-3 lines, and I say lines, not sentences, 2-3 lines at the beginning of your paragraph and 2-3 lines at the end. I usually go from a full stop to a full stop or a comma to a comma, something that looks like just an idea and it doesn't look like an example or an explanation. If it is too specific, they use that to illustrate or to support the main idea. So that's why I would recommend to read beginnings and endings and then try to make notes beside the paragraph. So these kind of notes would help you remember what the paragraph is about. So whenever you have a look at that again, you could quickly save time and match the correct heading. Because remember that the heading is like a mini title that we include at the beginning of the paragraphs to summarize the main ideas. It is crucial to point out that if you start reading the headings and you scan only looking for the keywords of those headings, you will have more problems getting the correct option because you will be finding specific information and wasting your time rather than the main idea, which is what you need, in a very effective way through skimming. When you're scanning for the headings, as I told you, we have extra headings. So you don't know if that heading that you're kind of like looking for is going to be the correct one. So rather, you should be looking into the text and forget about the headings. The heading should be the last step of this activity. Right. So from the beginning, we have the steam car, the successes and failures of the Doble brothers and their steam cars. So we know it's going to be about cars, we know it's going to be about steam cars, and ups and downs of this kind of steam car. So let's try to do that. We're going to begin skimming paragraph A. When primitive automobiles first began to appear in the 1900s, their engines were based on steam power. Okay, let's continue with the ending. So I'm going to choose from the last full stop to the previous full stop. So as I said, 2-3 lines. That's going to be enough. Despite such shortcomings, these newly designed self-propelled carriages offered quick transportation, and by the early 1900s, it was not uncommon to see such machines shuttling wealthy citizens around town. Okay. We have basically a little bit of an introduction of history. So it appeared in the 1800s, and then these newly designed self-propelled carriages offered quick transportation, and by the early 1900s, it was not uncommon to see such machines shuttling wealthy citizens around town. So I'm gonna call this that is like history. It's a little bit of history, a little bit like the beginnings of this car. I'm gonna put there history and the beginnings. Okay. Let's continue with B. But the glory days of steam cars were few. A new technology called the internal combustion engine soon appeared, which offered the ability to drive down the road just moments after starting up. Okay, and I stop because there's a full stop there, so it's 3 lines, more than enough. Now let's skim the last part of the test from full stop to full stop. But in 1912, General Motors introduced the electric starter, and over the following few years, steam power was gradually phased out. Okay, so it was about to disappear. It disappeared. So let's write something like something new appeared instead of steam. Let's continue skimming the next paragraph. So, as we said before, 2-3 lines at the beginning and 2-3 lines at the end. Even as the market was declining, four brothers made one last effort to rekindle the technology. Okay, so they tried to improve the steam car. Perhaps most impressively, the model was amazingly swift. It was fast. It could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 15 seconds. A feat described as remarkable acceleration by Automobile magazine in 1914. Sometimes it's also very important to go and zigzag in the middle of the paragraph. So basically, the last effort to rekindle technology was to build the first steam car, and that was the model. And so it means that there was a new invention of the steam car. It was fast, described as remarkable. So, my notes, the notes that I'm going to take besides this paragraph to help me remember the main point, the main ideas of this paragraph would be something like new invention of steam car. Okay. Let's go through the topic sentences in paragraph D. The following year, Abner Doble drove the Model B from Massachusetts to Detroit in order to seek investment in his automobile design, which he used to open the General Engineering Company. And again, from full stop to full stop, Okay, from full stop there. By the following April, the General Engineering Company had received 5,390 deposits for double Detroits, which were scheduled for delivery in early 1918. So it's a success. They had a lot of deposits. They were seeking for investment and they got investment. So I think that a way to summarize this paragraph would be success with new model. Let's continue with paragraph E. Let's skim. Read carefully the topic sentences at the beginning and at the end of the paragraph to get just an idea of what that is about. Later that year, Abner Doble delivered unhappy news, sad news, to those eagerly awaiting the delivery of the new cars. Okay, so some problems. Let's go from full stop to the full stop. The new engine design, though innovative, was still plagued with serious glitches, some mistakes, some failures. So I'm gonna call that paragraph Problems with the Model. Let's see what happens next. The brothers made one final attempt to produce a viable steam automobile. Okay, and then they explained how. And the name of the model, Model E. Let's see the topic sentences at the end. So, as always, let's try to find the full stop. Okay. As the new double steamer was further developed and tested, its maximum speed was pushed to over 100 miles per hour, and it achieved about 15 miles per gallon of kerosene with negligible emissions. That's the meaning of negligible, almost nothing. So let's say that this is the new steamer and it was one final attempt. So if I have to think of a heading for a newspaper, I think a very good headline would be Last Attempt. And finally, let's continue skimming paragraph G. Sadly, the Doble's brilliant steam car never was a financial success. Never a success. Priced at around $18,000 in 1924, it was popular only among the very wealthy, only with rich people because it was very expensive. Okay, let's have a look at the ending. Under the current pressure to improve automotive performance and reduce emissions, it is not unthinkable that the steam car may rise again. Okay. So we have two different ideas in this paragraph. One that is, it was never a financial success, or that it was a failure, but it may rise again in the future. Okay, so I was skimming the topic sentences, the most important information of that paragraph. Obviously, I would have to read something else, so usually skimming would also include some zigzag, looking for keywords in the middle of the paragraph, okay? So we will do that, but roughly take between 3-5 minutes to do this and kind of summarize with your own simple words what the main topic is, what the main idea is. So after you finish skimming as an introductory round, now we're going to read the headings and we're going to underline the keywords. in order to find a suitable paragraph for that. So I'm going to go to the headings and have a look at them one by one. So number one, it says period in cold conditions. So that's quite a specific keyword. Before technology is assessed. Okay, so far it doesn't ring a bell that I read anything about cold. But as we said, skimming not only is beginnings and endings, that is just to get the main context of the passage. I would have to read something else in the middle of the paragraphs, kind of like in a zigzag way to collect more information. But so far, I'm going to say it doesn't ring a bell. Let's continue with number two. Marketing issues lead to failure. Okay, marketing issues lead to failure. So I do remember something about that, but let's see if it is 100% a match for the paragraphs. Number three, it says good and bad. Okay, good and bad aspects of STEAM technology are passed on. So I do have some paragraphs speaking about the advantages and the disadvantages of this car. So probably I could find a match right at the beginning. Number four, it says a possible solution to the issues of today. Okay, something about present time. I remember reading something about it in the last paragraph. So obviously first we go for the easy ones and then we need to spend more time reading to continue matching the other ones that are not so clear. Let's continue with number five. And it says further improvements lead to commercial orders. Okay, so we do have some paragraphs speaking about orders, people paying money for the orders, deposit, I believe, that I remember. The next one, it says positive publicity. So good publicity at last, finally, for this quiet, clean, fast vehicle. Okay, we do have very specific adjectives describing this car. So possibly we could find synonyms in the text. I don't remember right now, but we would definitely need to look for these three keywords: quiet, clean, and fast. The next one, number seven, a disappointing outcome. Okay, so disappointing, negative feeling, outcome, result for customers. I do remember some disappointments, some failures for the customers, so I would have to look into that straight away as well. And a better option than the Steam car arises. So I do have a better option, I think, compared to the Steam car. I think it was something about the electric start or something. So that's something that it rings a bell. So the ones that ring a bell are the ones that you should prioritize. So I think that I was thinking about this. Today, issues today, commercial orders. I don't remember these ones, so I would have to spend more time about that. The disappointment, okay, and a better option. So, because my skimming skills are good quality, I'm able to remember most of what I read, and my summaries will help me much quickly with the headings. So, out of the 8 options, I kind of remember roughly 5 of them, which saves me a lot of time. So what I would have to do now is keep locating them next to the paragraph that I think best summarizes it and not the way around. There is a little mistake there. Sorry, I meant best, fixed, So let's see and locate the headings in the paragraph and not the way around it, okay? I'm not gonna write my answers here next to the headings. That is very bad advice because remember that we have more headings than paragraphs, so the ideal thing is to go for the paragraph and match the heading, okay? So I would be crossing out the ones that I'm using already. We have some headings that ring a bell to me more clearly than others. So I'm going to try and match those before. Okay. So, for example, the one that is number 8 that says a better option than the steam car arises, I think that is very similar to what I wrote for paragraph B, something new instead of steam, right? So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read that quickly and see if that confirms that is number 8. But the glory days of steam cars were few. A new technology, okay, so that clears it, yeah. A new technology, so that's a better option, called the internal combustion engine soon appeared, which offered the ability to drive down the road just moments after starting up. Okay, so that's better. Yeah, that's a better option than the ones that we had. At first, these noisy gasoline cars were unpopular because they were more complicated to operate and they had difficult hand crank starters, which were known to break arms when the engines backfired. But, so something negative, but. In 1912, General Motors introduced the electric starter, and over the following few years, steam power was gradually phased out. So, and I'm going to say that this is number 8. And I'm going to cross it out. Okay, the next one that I thought it was quite straightforward was the one before that. A disappointing outcome for customers, number 7. And I thought that this disappointment would be paragraph E, because when they speak about problems with the model. Later that year, Abner Doble delivered unhappy news. So, delivered unhappy news to those eagerly waiting the delivery, so the customers of the new modern new cars. Those buyers who received the handful of completed cars complained. So quite disappointing, yeah, complaining that the vehicles were sluggish and erratic, sometimes going in reverse when they should go forward. So everything is backwards. The engine design, though innovative, was still plagued with serious glitches. And as we mentioned, glitches meant mistakes and failures. So I think that quite clearly this is about the customers, it's about the buyers, and it was a disappointing result, a disappointing outcome. So for the moment, I'm going to match it, and I'm going to say that E is number 7. Okay, the one before that, these 3 keywords describing the car, doesn't really ring a bell. I would have to look for these adjectives or synonyms of them for a while. So I think that the one that rings a bell most is number 5 here. Further improvements lead to commercial orders. So I remember people paying more money for this and looking for investment. Yeah, so I'm gonna read that paragraph, the whole paragraph quickly, and see if I'm in the right. Following seek investment. He and his brothers immediately began working on the Model C, which was intended to expand upon the innovations of the Model B. The brothers added features such as key-based ignition in the cabin, eliminating the need for the operator manually at the boiler. With these improvements, the Doble's new car company promised a steam vehicle which would provide all of the convenience of gasoline cars, so convenience, but with much greater speed, much simpler driving controls, and virtually silent power plant. Okay, by the following April, General Engineering Company received these deposits, which were scheduled for delivery in early 1918. Okay, so definitely these enhancements, okay, and convenience makes me think about the improvements, and those improvements led to these deposits. So I'm going to say for the moment that paragraph D is 5. Further improvements lead to commercial orders, and those are the deposits. Possible solution to the issues of today. Okay, so my main point here is today, because the rest of the headings are all about the past basically, but only one paragraph was about today's regulation, and it says under the current. So current means present, nowadays. Pressure to improve automotive performance and reduce emissions, it is not unthinkable that the steam car may rise again. So the steam car could be a solution. So just by reading the beginnings and the endings of that paragraph, I'm going to match it, and I'm going to say that this is number 4, because I can't remember any of the previous paragraphs that speak about present time. I'm gonna choose that one, and especially because it says California today. Like if I continue skimming and zigzagging in the middle of the paragraph, I will still have just present things instead of past things as the ones before. So number 4, G. Okay, so I've already matched quite confidently, let's say, 4 of them. I still have other paragraphs left. As I told you before, I would have to match all the paragraphs, but not all the headings. So I have 3 paragraphs left. At this point, I would have to read the whole paragraph quite slowly, okay, and trying to collect more ideas that would help me summarize the main point better. So we're going to go through paragraph A, and then I'm going to go through the headings, the ones that I have left, and see if any of them could be a match. When primitive automobiles first began to appear in the 1800s, their engines were based on steam power. Steam had already enjoyed a long and successful career in the railways, so it was only natural that the technology involved in doing a transversion which was separate from the trains. But, so I would always pay attention to these kind of linking words at the beginning of the sentences. But these early cars inherited steam's weaknesses. This is interesting. Inherited steam's weaknesses along with its strengths. Okay, so this is the negatives with the positives. So it's not just about the history and the beginning of these steam cars, it's also about the positives and the negative sides of the steam cars. The boilers had to be lit by hand, and they require about 20 minutes to build up pressure before they could be driven. So yeah, that's why negative. Furthermore, the water reservoirs only lasted for about 30 miles before needing replenishment. Again, quite negative. Despite such shortcomings, so that's the negative point, these newly designed self-propelled carriages offer quite transportation. Okay, so it is quite interesting that they mention these weaknesses and strengths. If I pay attention to the headings, I have cold conditions, so nothing about weather, marketing, nothing about publicity or marketing, but good and bad aspects. So, yes, I do have number 3 that speaks about good and bad aspects of STEAM technology, and they're passed on. So, passed on means basically inherited. I'm going to say that paragraph A is number 3. The heading that best summarizes it. Okay, let's continue with paragraph C, which is the one that I have unmatched yet. Even as the market was declining, four brothers made one last effort to rekindle the technology. Between while still attending high school, Abner Doble and his 3 brothers built their first steam car in their parents' basement. It comprised parts taken from a wrecked English steam car but reconfigured to drive an engine of their own design, though it did not run well. So once again, linking was at the beginning of the sentence. I should pay attention to that. The Doble brothers went on to build a second and third prototype in the following years. The Doble boys, the prototype nicknamed the Model B, still lacked the convenience of an internal combustion engine. It drew attention of the automobile magazines. Okay, so attention of the magazine, so that could be related to marketing in a way, due to its numerous improvements over previous steam cars. The Model B proved to be superior to gasoline automobiles in many ways. Its high-pressure steam drove the engine pistons in a virtual silence, in contrast to cluttering gas engines which emitted the aroma of burnt hydrocarbons. Perhaps most impressively was amazingly swift. Okay, so we do have a lot of adjectives in this case to describe the vehicle. So silence, I remember that there is one heading speaking about quiet, and swift, the meaning is fast. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah. So we have quiet, clean, fast. Positive publicity, at last, finally. So Double Boy's third prototype nickname. So it's in the third prototype, so at last, the magazines drew attention for its improvements. So this is about the positive publicity and the good positives. That is quiet, so silence, virtual silence, and it's fast. Yeah, so that's swift. And also it says something about clean, but I think it's more of the aroma. I think it is clean in the sense burned hydrocarbons. So instead of the clattering gas engines, smoke and noise, then it was just the aroma, as if you couldn't see anything. It was clean and quiet of burnt hydrocarbons. So I'm going to say that because of this description of the car, paragraph C is matched with heading 6. Okay. And once again, I have 2 headings left, but remember, that is not important. The most important thing is I have 1 paragraph left, and that's paragraph F. So, once again, we would have to read everything quite quickly, okay, just to see if they say anything about weather, so cold, or publicity, marketing, and failure. So, what piece of information belongs to one paragraph, and that is paragraph F. The brothers made one final attempt to produce a viable steam automobile. In early 1924, Double Brothers shipped a Model E to New York City to be road tested by the Automobile Club of America. After sitting overnight in freezing temperatures, okay, so they do speak about cold here, the car was pushed into the road and left to sit for over an hour in the frosty morning air at the turn of the key. So this is when they start, yeah. The boiler lit and reached its operating pressure inside for 40 seconds as they drove the test. So this is a test vehicle. Further, they found that its evenly distributed weight lent it surprisingly good handling even though it was so heavy. Alright, so I can clearly see that they speak about weather, and it was before the vehicle was tested. So I'm going to say that heading 1 belongs to paragraph F. And so I cannot see anything about marketing, anything about publicity, and therefore second heading is going to be left out. Okay, so that's all for me. I hope that this was useful, and see you soon. Bye.